because they weren't requiring people to follow building code. Okay. And that's awesome. That's kind of
Well, let it go. I mean, I know
not holding them a little more accountable.
Maybe something they, perhaps, with her being new, maybe she'll be willing to put that in guidelines. But, I mean, it seems like that would be basic to me.
That's a good word.
That's why I wanted to see what they had. Kathy had a chance to look at it since she sent it to us. But I think we ought to pick it up along with it.
All right, let's call the meeting to order. I got 4 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. Roll call.
John Reinhardt.
Here.
Okay. Mark Dennis.
Here.
Nate Termellen.
Here.
Bonnie Good. Here. Tim Harden.
Here.
John Kelly.
We have a quorum. Thank you. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes?
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, John.
Second.
A motion and second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any public hearings? Don't see any. Any old business? Not seeing any new business. The 2025 RDC spending plan. Is that you, Matt?
It is indeed. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Here before you today, just to get your approval on the 2025 RDC, Seymour's TIF RDC spending plan. New reporting requirement required by statute for this year, due by December 1st. All this requires is your guys' approval. You should have it in front of you, outlined in broad categories. And Tim, as you and I discussed before, there is a letter that includes a exhaustive list of what expenditures could be included underneath those larger broad categories. Does not mean that we are going to spend dollars on each one of those categories. It just kind of opens up the floor for dollars to be spent on any one of those categories depending on what pops up next year. As you guys know, kind of hard to project what opportunities are going to be presented to us next year. So we want to make sure that we structured this in a way to give you guys flexibility next year. So we've obviously got all your debt payments factored in their various categories, your guys' other ongoing efforts that you typically do. And then we've also included just kind of that buffer for unanticipated items that pop up next year that we may need to spend funds on. So provided that you guys don't have any questions, I'll just ask you guys approve the spending plan. I believe there should be a resolution in there for you guys to approve. Once I get that, or once you guys approve that, I'll work on getting that uploaded to Gateway this week ahead of the December 1st spending plan deadline.
Thank you for keeping us compliant. You're right, there is a resolution in the back of the document. So I guess what we need to do is, if there's any questions for Matt, we can ask them now. And if not, need a motion to, do we have a next resolution number, Chris?
I was just thinking about that. I have it on my computer in the office. I can have it for you in 45 seconds if you need it.
It would be handy before the end of the meeting if we could do that.
I can do that.
But in the meantime, we'll certainly entertain a motion. Everybody's had a chance to read through the resolution as it's worded. Thank you, Nate. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, JJ. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Matt. Main Street, is Jalen here?
Okay, perfect. Things out here for you guys too. Here's the proposal, and then just be easier than looking back at the screen back there as
Yes,
we
it
kind
would.
of go through things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
2024-05.
Okay, the resolution number for the minutes would be 2024-05.
Thank you for your response too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're welcome.
Bonnie, did you get that?
Also, I
Resolution
realized
number
that everything didn't
2024-05.
attach to my email earlier, so I did print them off. There's a few more documents.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And did y'all vote on that one also?
We did.
Okay, do
Had
you
a chance to
remember?
look at them
Nathan
yet.
and JJ.
I've been doing the job
I
today,
know,
but.
no, that's okay, sorry about that. I was just saying, if you have any questions too, we can kind of go through a couple of those as
Okay.
well.
Thank you very much.
All right. Hello, I'm Jalen Stam, the director of Seymour Main Street. I went ahead and handed out the funding proposal to each one of you, as well as the presentation that we'll be going through today. Like I said, I know that the screen's behind you guys, so I figured it'd be easier to look at that versus turning around. I also brought a board member here with me today. I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself.
Afternoon, Jason Bukowski. This is my 4th year on the Main Street Board. I also serve on the Economic Vitality Committee, which is a lot around our discussion today.
So some of what we'll be talking about is in the proposal I had sent over, as well as just handed out to you guys. We are here today asking for $350,000 to help with some of our initiatives heading into 2025. Before we get started, I did want to just start off by saying thank you to the Redevelopment Commission. We do appreciate all the funds that you guys have given to Seymour Main Street over the last several years and the projects we've been able to complete through that prior to my time and then the rest of this year as well. So as you'll see on this, I just included several different pictures of businesses we've been able to help through the grant program. There's been tons and tons more over the years. Moxie Coffee, Reed's Place, Vat and Barrel, The Studio, Unleash, First Presbyterian, and many more.
Yeah, and just forecasted, of course, we'll start accepting new applications for 2025 grant reviews after the new year. But again, we're fairly connected with our downtown investors. A lot of development coming in 2025 and 2026, which again, why we're here to prepare for some of that opportunity ahead of us.
Going on to the next slide, I know all you guys are familiar with Seymour Main Street already, but just to give you an overview again, we are here to promote, preserve, and to protect our historical downtown Seymour. We do have 4 different committees that this is kind of run through. I'll go over it super briefly with you. Economic Vitality kind of oversees our grant program that we'll be talking about a lot today. The Promotions Committee oversees our events, so stuff like City Jam, Downtown Shop Around, Trick or Treat, Christmas on Chestnut, things that bring some of the community into downtown to really support some of those businesses. Organization helps with some of our donor program, our accreditation standards, and then we have our design committee that helps with things like our streetscape plan and overall design in downtown. As you go to the next page, just our downtown boundaries, just really quick for you guys to just check it out. It shows where our Main Street district is, and then also we are a nationally registered historic district as well in that area.
On the next page, we're going to review some of the 2024 results from our grant program. Again, on our website, you can see the variety of categories each that fall into grant opportunities for our downtown businesses. This year, we had 23 applicants. That number continues to rise. Several years ago, that number was in the teens. Again, we anticipate that going up here in 2025. 14 of those 23 projects were either fully funded or partially funded. Applicants had total investment in downtown at $2.8 million. And of the projects that were, again, awarded either in partial or in full, almost $1.2 million of work that's taking place downtown here in 2024. Projects awarded included 3 projects for facade, 8 for build out, 1 roof replacement, and then we're seeing more and more, especially of our bigger buildings that are undergoing completely remodeled, a lot of interest in downtown residential areas. So we've had some upper story apartment complexes developing here in 2024.
And then I also want to point out too, just a couple of pictures of different projects that we helped to fund this year was Hopper Top, and then the Hancock Building, the black and gold one down on the corner there are a couple pictures I included.
And just to be clear, the total project cost for applicants awarded $1.2 million. That's not our contributions. That's the total project.
Correct.
The contribution from Seymour Main Street was what?
$130,000 was awarded out, and then
A little more than 10%.
Those numbers were yes, what the total project costs were for the applicants.
Thank you.
Yep. As we go on to some of the other projects that were completed by Seymour Main Street in 2024, we were able to purchase 120 West 2nd Street. And I'll walk into this a little bit more as I have a slide looking ahead into 2025. We were awarded a grant to hire a structural engineer to come in and do an assessment, and then are going to place a roof upon receiving that approval from the engineer. Don's Dugout has been a project that's been ongoing. This is something that we expect to receive the deed here within the next month. We are working with an attorney to prepare a request for the removal of IRS liens. Like I said, this is something we'll kind of get into in the 2025 projects. We also completed a business and retention expansion plan with Veritas. It included demographics. It also did a downtown market analysis, so kind of showed what businesses are already in our downtown area, as well as, what would thrive in downtown Seymour and how we might be able to attract those businesses. It did an evaluation of our tools and recommendations, so really that big portion was the grant program, looking at our grant program and seeing, hey, where can we, make some changes to really attract those businesses that we want. And then also our streetscape project. This is something I'm going to talk into in the 2025 as well, but we are meeting with Context Designs, getting some designs, planning, cost estimates, and those kind of things, so we can look into implementing a lot of that into 2025 as well.
I'll say one more thing about this slide. A little bit unusual. We don't buy buildings every year, right? But in the last 2 years we have, and I think those two, the decision on whether or not we invest in property has a lot to do with opportunity, has a lot to do with the current condition of some of those buildings downtown. Again, Jalen talked about our mission here is to preserve and promote, and a lot of opportunities for preservation, particularly with Don's Dugout building in 2023 and 120, which is West Chestnut, 2nd Street, which again just happened in the last 30 days. If we have buildings that are in the middle of city blocks that are decaying from the inside out, we feel obligated, if no one else is going to step up, to get that building at least to a spot where an investor has a real opportunity and sees opportunity before they start investing some serious dollars there. Our goal, if we make money on that project, wonderful, right? That means we can do more. But if we break even on that project, that's a good investment for us because, again, it moves that ball forward at a place that otherwise would just be standing still.
I appreciate you sharing that because that was just one of the things struck me about you in purchasing properties.
Yeah, and again, before we go into any property purchase, we certainly lean on realtors, attorneys, very conservative in our approach, and that would be a good description of our approach there.
And if I may, I just want to point out too, I'm not sure how many of us have previous experience with Seymour Main Street or the national program, but the fact that our local community program is able to buy buildings and things that means that we have a very strong local program, looking at the mission of how the different programs are structured. So
we agree. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one other thing to that too is whenever we were going into 120 West 2nd and looking to purchase that, if there was an investor in downtown Seymour that we knew was going to go in and really look to fix that building up, we would have happily, stepped back and been like, hey,
yeah,
you guys are more than welcome to do that. But we didn't want to see that one sit and rot. We know that the roof has a hole in it, and I included a picture in here too of the first floor, and it definitely needs some work in there. So.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Very briefly, again, you've been around. You understand what Main Street does. A lot of there have been some questions and emails back and forth over the last couple of days, and we really appreciate those, especially around funding, because that's what we're here asking you to do. Some of the projects that we have, some of the events that we host downtown, might fall into two categories. It might be a net zero investment for us, where if we can just recoup through sponsorship some of our operating expenses there, then that's positive because it hopefully as an event that brings thousands of people downtown. Our job is to attract people downtown so they can see it, touch it, smell it, and maybe have a reason to come back next weekend to check out something that they didn't know was there. City Jam is a good example of that. But then we also, like our Bourbon Pour, like our Dancing with the Stars, those are fundraising events that hopefully accomplish both things, to bring people downtown, but also raise funds through membership and again, events like this to cover all of our payroll and operating expenses. None of the money that we would ask today is spent on any payroll or operating expense. I want to make that clear.
So then as we look into 2025 and kind of our ask that we're here for today, one thing that we really talked about is our grant program. I know Jason touched on this as well. Like I said, in the applicants this year, the total project cost was over $2 million. We were able to award, I think it was 14 of the applicants that had applied. We've seen a higher increase in demand, and so with that, we want to increase our program from $130,000 to the $250,000 to really incentivize more private investment in downtown. We've also had conversations with different downtown owners, and from just projects that we know, looking into 2025, we're already estimating around $5 million or a little bit over that right now. So another one of those was Dawn's Dugout that we've kind of talked about. Right now, like I said, we're waiting to get the deed to that, working with an attorney to get the IRS liens removed. So that's kind of step one. That can be a somewhat lengthy process. So during that, we will be looking to see if there's any safety related repairs to prevent further deterioration on the building. So that's something we, obviously we can't walk into and have an engineer kind of come in and look at that until we do have the deed, but that'll be a project for 2025 that we'll be looking to do. As we step into 120 West 2nd Street, you can see the two pictures on the bottom. Bottom left is, I forgot to change it up here. The bottom left picture shows the outside of the building, and then on the right side you can see the first floor. Like I said, it's has a lot of repairs that are needed. We've had somebody walk through it. We know that there's some asbestos flooring, there's some mold, there's quite a few different things going on, so we know for sure we're going to have probably a remediation company coming in next year. First step, like I said, structural engineer. We're going to get the roof replaced. There's windows out in the back of it. We'll have the remediation company come in, and then we'll have to see what else is on the assessment to get additional cost estimates there. As for the streetscape plan, we'll be looking to implement parts of that here in 2025. One thing that we are pursuing with that outside of RDC funds is it's called the Main Street Revitalization Program. So it's through Okra. Basically, they'll award up to $500,000 for a project under $2 million. If it's over $2 million, you can apply for up to $600,000, and then we would have to provide a 20% match. So we are looking at applying to that grant here next year to help us kick off that streetscape plan. And with that being said, going into, again, why we're here today, for the ask of $350,000, and again, that breakdown goes to $250,000 towards the grant program we talked about, and then $100,000 towards some of those building improvements, and then the streetscape plan as well. Jason, did you have anything you kind of wanted to add there?
Well, I again, just talking about some of the stress that our building owners are facing. Roofing, year over year, usually at a 5% inflation. Roofing materials and labor up 25% over each of the last 3 years. Steel's up 75% in the last 3 years. Plywood was up 225%. But if you read the paper, they'll tell you that it's down. It is down. It's down 45%. So what's our net increase? 180%? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Drywall's up 44% in the last 3 years. And so, again, it feels like we're here to ask to go from $200,000 of funding, which you guys have been very gracious with us over the last 5 years, to $350,000 as a huge jump. And it is a huge jump. That $200,000 has been the same for the last 5 years, and the world is an incredibly different place than it was. So we want to be able to have the opportunity to support our downtown members, our Main Street, again, in all the ways that Jalen just lined out. But to do that, again, the stress our building owners are feeling and the cost to maintain and build out some of these buildings is incredible. We want to be able to support them as best we can. Do I have one more slide?
Yeah, I accidentally clicked over it. Just the expected outcomes from.
Well, and again, a lot of this is self-explanatory and repetitive. Our expected outcome, again, is to support our downtown businesses, our members. We want to make our mission the same as your mission. We want to attract more people to live and work down here. A healthy downtown is vital to a city's soul. We understand that. We capture some of its history, maintain some of its history, and look forward as well. So again, we're here to answer any of your questions, and we thank you for listening to us.
Do you guys have any questions for us?
Thank you for the presentation. The material is very thorough. I know, speaking from 16 years of being on this commission, we have provided a fair amount of funding, but the results are tangible. And when you see that last year $2.5 million was spent downtown and we were able to provide 130, it's a pretty good return on the money. So I'm not sure how much of that would have not happened had we not been here, but I'm sure some of it would have not happened.
Yeah.
So are there any questions from the commission?
Not specifically on this. I was just curious if you have numbers on where you're at right now as far as occupancy or vacancy downtown on possibilities.
So I know that in our Main Street district, we have 209 businesses right now. And I would have to get you the numbers and send that over on what our current vacancies are. I don't have that off the top of my head. Sorry.
Thank you.
It's been fairly consistent over the last 3-4 years. You know, the buildings that are in good shape, the buildings that have good storefronts, you know, maybe some of those businesses have moved in and out, that they've tended to stay occupied. Some of the buildings that need some rehabilitation, that need a little TLC, those have tended to stay empty. So I think whatever that number is, it's been pretty consistent over the last several years.
Okay. And it is something you track quarterly?
Yes. Yeah,
occupancy.
I was gonna say it's reported quarterly for Indiana Main Street.
Yeah.
Because you have some of this in the facades work that's done. Do you do anything to encourage the grantee to try to blend in with the rest of the buildings downtown to make downtown look like one unit instead of hodgepodge of?
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, in our, which I handed one over to Tim. I can bring that over to you here in a second. But in our grant program, it kind of outlines like a design for the facade. And I know there's like a link that you can go to, and it kind of does like certain colors and kind of descriptions of what to kind of stay within the bounds of on the design for a facade.
Okay.
So in the grant process, we need to see financials. We need to see business plans. We need to see invoices for new HVAC, new roof, whatever the work is, right? We need to see that those vendors were paid. We also need to see designs, particularly around awnings, signage, and facade. And so while we can't go in there and tell them, hey, you have to paint that sign blue because it matches your neighbor's sign, we can certainly encourage them to do that. And again, part of the Veritas project had a whole chapter around the importance of consistency and appeal, streetscape, and a way to roll that out. So it's definitely on our plate, on our agenda.
You mentioned that 130 went to the grant program. What was the other 70 that came from RDC? What was that spent on last year?
Yeah, so there are several different projects which I can let you kind of talk through because I know some of these were before my time as well. But we did have the purchase of 120 West 2nd. We were able to do the business retention and expansion plan with Veritas. We did have a grant for that, so we had matching funds. Started in 2023, moved over to 2024. Like I said, that was like the business market analysis and the analysis of our grant program. So we were able to do the match with that. And then...
Yeah, and I think if you look on this section here are 4 different pillars, Nate.
Yep.
Economic vitality takes a large chunk of that 200,000, and then the other 70 is distributed between the needs there. Again, we've done in the past benches, we've done flowers, we've done, like you said, the Veritas project was expensive, but we'll get some of that back afterwards. And then the purchase over the last 2 years of those 2 buildings have eaten up quite a bit of that.
Do you have an exact number that you plan on putting in the grant program from that 250 for 25 then, if it's awarded?
So for RDC, $250,000 of the 350 would go towards the grant program, and then the other $100,000 that we're asking for is going to go towards the other 3 items Don's dug out. It'll be split between Don's dugout, 120 West 2nd, and then, like I said, we'll be going for that grant for the streetscape and implementing some of that as well.
So all 250.
Okay.
Yeah. So our bucket will go from 130 to 250.
Okay. And then the 100,000, do you anticipate that being an annual request, or is that more of if there are projects or buildings that are kind of one-offs that would only come up when those things happen? If you go 2 years without it, it would go away, but maybe 3 years from now it comes back, or is it an annual request, do you think?
So I think from kind of what we've talked about and what we've talked about with the board is we would like to move our grant program up and stay at that, 250,000 mark at least, because we see the demand going up, and I don't think that that's going to change. But then for the $100,000 portion, I think that's something we're going to have to reevaluate as we go into 2025 and look into 2026 of, hey, here's where we're at in these projects. This is what we're looking at into 2026, and then reevaluate what our ask is going to be coming in next year.
And I think it's as needed.
Yeah.
There may be years where we don't have the kind of projects that we have now, but there may be opportunities, again, through the Veritas project that we want to start tackling that might be more than that. So I think it might be as needed year to year.
Frankly, I know that both with Main Street and with the city of Seymour, the Don's Dugout property has been something that has been of concern for the last 25 years. So getting that in hand and marketable, so I think that'll do a lot to help our downtown.
I didn't get a chance to look over the grant guidelines this afternoon, but I appreciate you sharing some of the steps y'all walk through requiring the invoices and the plans and making sure those projects are completed, because that's an important step on it. I know that there was some challenges last year on some projects. People on build-outs didn't follow all the proper procedures with the city and working with them on making sure everything was done by code and walking through that. I didn't know if you have guidelines to that, or if it's something that you would be open to us with some stipulations of requirements for them to make sure they're following up with the city on everything that they need to take care of.
Yeah, if you and I could connect afterwards, I'd love to know which of those projects you're talking about.
Okay.
But we reworked our guidelines in 2023 from 2022 to include a lot more of that due diligence. We had some grants that hadn't been applied for or used in the last 3 or 4 years. We got rid of those. We increased the awards for awnings and rooftops because, again, to battle inflation. So those grants guidelines are always open for discussion and tweaking, and for sure. Yeah, happy to do that.
Great question. Well, we have a request in front of us. Are there more questions, or can we talk about the request?
I have no more questions.
Nate, you had mentioned to me before the meeting that you had some concerns about our abilities.
Yeah, so and this is nothing to do with, Jason, I think your point about not increasing the 200 to 250 is absolutely right. Our tax, what we've been able to collect has gone up. I support, honestly, the full 350, but we also talked to Matt before this meeting, and there's 2 things. One is the Second Street project that we have seen a lot go out, and there's some of it coming back, but we're not sure how much that is yet. And then the other is the O'Brien Street project, where we got a big number that came back from the design firm that either us or somebody, some form of city government is going to have to fund. And he expects to have some of that information in the next month. I would be, my preference is because again, I'd vote for 200 today, but to vote for the full 350, I'd like to see some of that information before we voted on that. So if we could, I'd be my preference to table it for a month and have Matt do his due diligence to bring back so we can have a clearer picture for how much revenue we actually have next year, so that we're not overcommitting something and then we go, oops,
Great.
So that's my preference at this point, and I assume that doesn't materially affect you because these are 2025 grants that as long as we would do it by December, that you should be.
We've got it's a date that, we created, right? Our budget review is the middle of December 12th?
Yeah, December 12th.
December the 12th.
When we go through and approve our budget.
So I don't see a problem with that at all.
Are
we operating in a worst case scenario, it's still 200?
I mean, that's already in the budget item, from last year, so but I would, again, preference would be not to do 200 today and 150 then, is just do it all in one motion.
And understand, this just came up about an hour ago.
Right, yeah.
So,
Is there any way to use any of the funding from the quality of life grants? Because we didn't use any of that this year.
fair point. I don't know why we couldn't. How much was that?
Let's see, in here,
160
I think.
yeah.
something.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely cover the 100,000 additional. Let's see. Yeah, I've got 159,806.
So roughly 160 there, and then the 200 that we've already, it gets us to 350.
Yeah, it covers the same
Types of
things
stuff, yeah.
under quality of life grants.
I guess my bigger thing is the cash flow issues.
Yeah.
That's where in the financials that is the problem, is the cash flow, and that doesn't
Right.
change whether it comes out of one bucket or another. Like, we're still going out the door.
That is true. Yeah.
So, that's, the big thing, and I just would like some more clarification, but if everybody else is not, then, we can,
Well, you can make a motion to table this.
Yeah, so, I guess is what do other people think before we make a motion?
I'm in agreement with you,
Okay.
and do you wait to see how this shakes out in the next few days?
So would we want to, okay. I didn't know if we'd want to, vote on like part of it, a partial.
I'm waiting on a motion.
I would make a motion to table till December to then vote on the full 350 at that time.
Okay.
That would be
Are you making the motion?
I'm making the motion.
I'll make a second.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? What's that?
When is your December meeting?
Well, that's going to be a topic here in just a little bit. It's scheduled for December 23rd. Historically, when it's the week of Christmas, we move it up or back a week, but
Usually,
the,
probably up.
yeah,
So
so
the
the
16th is the most likely, but
yeah.
on the agenda for
Sorry, thank
your
you.
second.
No, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Great project. Hope you understand. We support you. We get some things we need to tend to internally.
Thank you for all that, and if any of you have questions that pop up that you'd like additional info for, just reach out.
Okay, thank you. Where did Matt go?
Oh, he's
He's behind the pole.
He's hiding.
He's in the blind spot.
Reedy Financial Group, financial report.
Well, good afternoon again. I know I talked to you guys a little bit about kind of that O'Brien Street piece that I've got built into the financial plan. As I mentioned, I expect we'll get some clarity on that hopefully in the next week. As soon as I do get that clarity, I'll make sure to get this document fully updated and send you guys out a new copy. You know, worst case scenario, as I was telling Chad, because Chad's been working hard to try to get us the clarity that we need in order to update this document and know what we're facing next year in regards to that project. You know, worst case scenario, it does come in at that high dollar amount. We do have options though. I don't want it to be doom and gloom and everyone think that we're going to be up a creek, right? Like, we just need the clarity so I can put together the path forward to get us where we need to be.
We just need to understand our funds.
Correct.
And their commitment. Yeah.
Correct, absolutely. And so as soon as I have that, I will, like I said, update this plan, send it to you with my recommendations on how we get that done, whether, you know, if hopefully it's the original number that we thought it was, and then we can go from there. But other than that, for today's plan, that's the big thing that I wanted to touch base on here with you guys. Other than that, pretty straightforward as far as claims go for this month. Some bond payments obviously coming out, and then just so you know too, that spending plan you guys approved, we do have that linked within the financial plan. It's not printed on the page, but that way, you know, as you guys make expenditures next year, those buckets will get filled up on their own, and we can kind of keep an eye on it and make sure that we don't need to submit amended spending plan to reallocate some of those funds to other buckets.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Any questions for Matt? Okay, thank you. Claims. Has everybody had a chance to go through the claims? Would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Donnie?
Second.
Thank you, JJ. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, I think we do need to talk about the date for the next meeting. Does anybody have a problem with moving it to December 16th?
I have a conflict at 4:30. I have another meeting at that time.
Does anybody else have a conflict?
I appear to be wide open that day.
Me too.
Available, I mean,
Okay.
could we do it at 3:30 instead of 4? You know.
Yeah, I think whatever we set here is fine.
I could definitely do 3:30.
Okay.
It's fine.
I don't think we need anything other than just notification, right? So
That's correct, yep, we'll just send out,
16th at 3:30.
send out notice.
16th at 3:30. Okay. Any other business?
I have, well, Melissa included in your packets, letter of commitment from the Redevelopment Commission to, Jackson County Chamber Foundation regarding, fund contribution for them.
Right. Should this be on letterhead?
I just used the template that Dan sent. I'm happy to put it on letterhead, but the template,
Jane's there.
okay. Oh, I was looking for Whitney, see if Whitney from ARA might be here, but.
Jane, are you able to drop this on letterhead?
I could, yeah.
If you'll do it like tomorrow?
Yeah.
All right. I'll come by and sign at some point,
Okay.
and then I'll call Dan when it's ready.
Thanks. I can send you that Word document so you can just copy and paste.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jane.
Any other business? Jim, you look like you're chomping at the bit. Okay. All right, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
A second.
Motion and a second, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.